Right, good afternoon, everyone. I think we've got everyone joined who was planning to, so we'll get started. All right, it's great to see so many schools. Thank you for putting your names and your locations in the chat so we can see we've got people from all over the country today. So my name is Kate and I work for the Country Trust, and I've been running the Farm in a Box project this year. So we've had 500 boxes go out to more than 380 schools. So hopefully you've been having a really good time with those and doing lots of learning all about wheat farming. So if you haven't heard of the Country Trust before, we have lots of different projects, and our aim is to connect children with the land that sustains us, to learn about their environment and the countryside and where their food comes from. So our Farm in a Box, sponsored by Warburtons, is really important because it teaches you all about wheat farming and about where your food comes from. So we've got Farmer Andrew with us today. So could you tell us where you are today?
I am Kate. I'm farm manager at Bromber Estate. We're in North Bedfordshire, probably about an hour north of London.
Brilliant. So we're going to have Farmer Andrew with us for the afternoon. We're going to be able to ask lots of questions. If you do have a question, there should be a function on your screen that says Q&A. So instead of putting it in the chat where it might get missed, please pop it in the Q&A. We've also had lots of questions that have been submitted when you signed up. So we've got the expert with us today, so we'll be able to get lots of answers. Keep asking all your questions throughout the day. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing lots of Q&As, but we're also going to be having a few breaks for some games. You will need your Who's Pooh cards from your Farm in a Box. So go and get those now, ready for a little bit later, because we'll be having a little Who's Pooh competition. And we're also going to be showing a film of Farmer Andrew's harvest. So hopefully you've all watched the Farm in a Box introduction video to Farmer Andrew and learned a little bit about him, but we do have a new video for you as well. So I think we should get started with some questions because we've already had lots. Probably the most popular question, Andrew, was when do you get up in the morning? We've had that lots of times.
I get asked that quite a bit, Kate. So I usually get up about 6 o'clock in the morning. I usually have a bit of breakfast. I take my dogs out for a walk. I check the weather forecast. It's probably one of the first things I do in the day. I take my dogs for a walk, and then I'll get going, get the farming day started.
Brilliant. So we've had a question from Miss Pratt from a school in Derbyshire and Miss Kohler from St. Joseph saying, why did you want to be a farmer? So could you maybe tell us a bit about why you wanted to be one, how you got into farming?
So I'm not from a farming family. I grew up in a housing estate in the suburb of a city, and but my grandparents were farmers, and I used to spend some time in the holidays down on the farm there. And I never wanted to do anything else. Right from when I was sort of 4 years old, I only ever wanted to be a farmer. So when I finished school, I went to university. I got a degree in agriculture, and I knocked on lots of doors and got myself some experience and got going that way. So and here I am today.
Brilliant, because there's lots of different routes into farming now, isn't there?
Absolutely, it's not that inaccessible. You just need to, there's loads and loads of college courses, and they'll teach you right from the start all the way through. And there's loads of very different jobs in agriculture, not just being a farmer, but there's all sorts of technical sales and bits and pieces of agronomy and stuff like that. Loads of different varied jobs.
Brilliant. Well, that links nicely to Miss Roadhouse's question from Gunthorpe Primary, who said, do you have people that help you do all the jobs on your farm? Because obviously farming is a huge job with lots of different things involved. Could you maybe tell us about some of the different jobs that are available on a farm and who you have helping you?
So I've got Paul helps me. He comes up and helps me about 8-9 months of the year. He's from Devon, and he comes up and he stays on the farm here with us and helps. He's here at the moment. He'll probably go home now for a few months shortly. And then I've got Kylie helps us in the office. She does the accounts and bookkeeping for us. She's in 2 days a week. And then I've got Charlotte is our agronomist. So she helps walk the crops and gives us advice on the crops and what we should be doing, what we're looking out for. Roger as well helps with the agronomy there. And then I've got some sales guys. I buy seed off Doug. He sells different seeds. And then I've also got Ed, we grow for another wheat company as well, and they've got an in-house agronomist, so I speak to him regularly as well. So there's loads of different people sort of feeding in and helping out and doing bits and pieces with us.
Thank you. So if kids are interested in different topics, there's loads of things they could get into, isn't there? All
Absolutely,
about
yeah.
animals, crops, science, IT,
Yeah,
sales, lots of different areas.
yeah, yeah. Robots is becoming quite a big thing now as well on the farm. So I'm sure
Brilliant. Do
we'll
you have any
talk.
robots on your farm?
I don't at the moment, but my friend, actually, I was talking to my friend who's a dairy farmer next door, and he's talking about getting robot milkers in to milk his cows. So that was maybe a project for him next year. So it's quite getting quite common now to have robots milking cows.
Well, speaking of the technology, Miss Cox has asked how you use your phone to control the combine.
I think that's come from the video. They've obviously paid attention to the video. So I can't control the combine from a video, but if Paul's out harvesting a field, I can look at my phone. I've got an app on my phone. I can see where the combine is, how much fuel's in it, what speed it's doing, what all the basically on the screen in the combine, it's got all the settings and what the operator sees, and I can mirror that onto my phone, and I can actually make some changes to those settings if Paul can't quite get the sample very clean on the combine, or if the grain is a bit cracked or something and he's not quite sure what to change, I can change those combine settings on my phone, and it brings in real-time yield data, so I can see what the crop is yielding, tons per hectare, the moisture content of the crop as well in different parts of the field. That's updating a couple of times a second, so it's real-time data. It's really useful.
Fantastic. So, being that you've just done the harvest, Miss Power from Dudley has asked, what do farmers do this time of year? Because presumably all your harvest is finished.
So we've finished harvesting. That's right. We've finished harvesting. We've had a very early harvest this year because it was so hot and dry. We've done a few little bits of cultivation. We don't do a lot of cultivating. We tend to direct drill. So we've done a little bits of remedial cultivation after all the rain we had last year. I don't know if you can see in the background, this tractor here has got the seed drill on the back. So we literally just finished last week planting next year's wheat crop. So we've just been cleaning the machines down. So we're into sort of winter mode at the moment. So we'll be loading out some wheat. I think we've got 2 loads going over to Warburtons next month. And we're hedge cutting. We tend to try and cut our hedges a bit later. So we leave all the berries as long as we can on the hedges for the birds to have a go at. So it's just things like that. And we've got a load of farm diversification projects we're working on as well at the moment. Lots of sheds going up and a lot of construction projects. So we're always busy, always plenty going on, lots of training as well.
All day, every day, all year. Do you work on Christmas Day, on holidays?
No, we try and have a little bit of, because we haven't got livestock here. Not yet. Actually, I'm talking, we will hopefully have grazing cattle here this time next year. But at the moment, we don't have any livestock. So I do get a good break at Christmas. I usually get a week off over Christmas. So.
A week. Oh, good to have a long holiday then.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of livestock, so a couple of the schools have asked if you do have any animals on your farm.
We don't have any of our own. I've got 4 dogs, 2 cats, and we've got about 10 chickens that lay eggs for us. We've got some grazing here that we rent out. My friend who's the dairy farmer, he has some sheep on the so we've got some sheep grazing here. And like I say, I'm talking with another farmer locally about bringing some cattle on to graze on the arable rotation on the fields that we grow wheat on. So when they're not growing wheat, we'll grow some fodder crops for the cattle to graze and rotate those around on the arable fields as well. So that'll be this time next year. So
brilliant. So you've got lots of different crops. Do you have any vegetables that you grow?
Our soil here is really heavy clay, really sticky clay, almost like what you'd make pottery out of. So it's not really suitable for growing vegetables. You need some nice sort of light sandy clay soils for growing vegetables. So it's not really suited to, we just grow wheat here mostly.
Great. And someone has asked, how do you, well, let me just find the question. How do you manage to make all those seeds in a year?
How do I manage to make, well, with a lot of luck.
How do you make the seeds?
So the seeds are growing. So we're just planting the seeds, trying to make the right environment for the seed to grow well, produce lots of grains for us. So the weather's a big factor for us, and you can, I don't know if you can see behind me, it's raining today. We got some rain showers, much needed rain. So we're relying on a lot of rain and good weather coming with us.
And how would you produce the seed for next year? Oh, have we lost Farmer Andrew? I think he's had to go temporarily. What we will do is we'll move on to a game next while we wait for him to come back for our next Q&A. So hopefully you have got your Who's Pooh cards ready.
Sorry.
So it looks like this. Oh, he's back. We're going to move on to Who's Pooh, Andrew, and then we'll finish our Q&A in a minute. So a little movement break, just because you've been doing lots of sitting and listening, everyone. So we should have some Who's Pooh cards. You have some pictures of animals and you have some pictures of poo, and your job is to match them. So I'm going to give you a minute or two just to have a look, see if you can have some good guessing on which poo belongs to which animal, and then we're going to give you some clues. So I'm going to give you a minute just to have a look first. Right, we're going to give you the first clue now. So a cow poo is sometimes called a cow pat because it looks like a big splat. So that is your first clue. And our next clue is chicken poo contains uric acid, which comes out of most animals as wee because chickens don't wee. So it makes their poo look white. And your third clue is that one of the poos on your card has something in it that looks like fur or hair. And only one of the animals on the cards eats other furry animals. So which one do you think that might be? And your last clue, rabbits produce two types of poo. One is a waste product and one is a special type of poo that they actually eat to get more nutrients back from the food. So which one on the cards has two different types? Brilliant. So I think we've had enough time for that now. So let's have a look at those answers, see if you got them all right. Right, well done if you got them all right. You might have had a go at that game already, or it might be your first time. It's my favourite game to play with children when they come and visit farms. I think we'll hop back into our Q&A now with Farmer Andrew. Now, we've had a lot of questions about machinery and about the tractors and about the combines. And I think we'll come back to them in just a moment because we are going to show a video of the combine. So I will answer all those questions. But we have had a few people. We've had Miss McCartney from the Acorns class. And I was very lucky because I got to go and visit the Acorns class a few weeks ago to see some farm in a box activities. They have asked, what is your favourite part of farming?
My favourite part of farming, it's a variety. I think no 2 days are ever the same with what I do, and you never quite know what's going to happen. You know, I just get loads of curveballs, and it's sort of problem solving a lot of the time, and yeah, just the variety of stuff that I do. It's great. I like working with the seasons as well. It's sort of you know, different seasons bring different sort of aspects to the farm, and I quite enjoy that too.
Brilliant. Similarly, Miss Birkinshaw from Willow Tree Academy has asked what part of your job gives you the most satisfaction. So is there anything that you do in the day that really gives you that satisfied feeling at the end?
Oh, you know, I like actually, if I like on my morning dog walk, I'll sort of try and set a few tasks for the day. And I will always, if I can get those tasks done, that's quite a sense of achievement. But the biggest thing for me is probably as I've got older, I've got more of an appreciation of the wildlife on the farm. And we work with a wildlife photographer. He's taken some amazing pictures, and he's got some owl boxes with live webcam feeds into them now as well. And he shares some of the footage with us. And to see that the way we're farming, the nature that we're bringing back to the farm now, and the bird life that we've got, that gives me an enormous amount of pleasure. To hear skylarks out in the field singing above you when you're out walking the fields is brilliant. That's probably one of my favourite aspects, I think.
Brilliant. So I think lots of people associate farmers with livestock and with farm animals like cows and sheep, but they don't really think about farmers looking after the wild animals and the birds and the insects that are on their farms. What sort of wildlife do you get on your farm?
Oh wow, I think we've got in excess of sort of 50 recorded bird species. We've got English partridge, which are quite rare. We've got quite a number of new broods of partridge this summer. We see lots of brown hares, lots of fallow deer, Chinese water deer, muntjac deer. We've got a few rabbits kicking about usually as well, but we've got barn owls, tawny owls, little owls, all sorts. We've got a lot of wildlife about.
Fantastic. And Mr. Braden has asked from Dudley. So we've talked a lot about your favourite part and what gives you satisfaction, but what's the hardest part about being a farmer?
The hardest part's probably the weather, because I can't control the weather, and I've just got to sort of deal with what gets thrown at us by the weather. That is probably the most difficult part. That and dealing with the government as well and the legislation. Unfortunately, I get more and more legislation, which it makes my life. I spend a lot of time doing a lot of paperwork, which is not the most enjoyable part of the job. But the weather is probably the biggest challenge we've got.
Yeah, and Miss King's reception class does ask, is your job tiring?
You'd have to probably ask my family. I think they'd say yes, it is, because I generally come in the evening at sort of you know, about 9 o'clock, and I'll sit down and I'm pretty much asleep within 10 minutes. My wife will put something on the telly and I'll be asleep within about 10 minutes.
Because you've got to get up very early.
Yeah.
So how many hours a week do you think you work on average? I know that's very difficult, but say a really busy week, like a harvest week and then a normal
Yeah.
week.
When we're harvesting, I sort of, like I say, I'm up at 6. We probably start work about 7:38, and we'll go till, you know, 11, sometime between 11 and 12 at night. So likewise, when we're planting crops, we push on and we make the most of those days. We're working long days. Throughout the winter, I'm probably more of a sort of 8 till 6 and we don't have to do an awful lot of weekends. It just depends really what's going on. But so yeah, I'll probably work sort of 8 till 6 on a normal working week, and then yeah, we'd work a bit later. But I've always tried to make time for family. I think it's important. We always eat a family meal at sort of 6 in the evening, so I'll always come home, and then I might go back out to work. Particularly in the summertime when it's daylight, I'll probably go back out and do a few more hours after dinner. So yeah.
So very long hours, very long days.
Yeah.
But satisfying overall.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I wouldn't want to do anything else. And you know, it's kind of, it just fits in around family life as well. We make it fit.
So we've just got a few questions that have just come in about things we've been talking about. So the children at Winchell Village would like to know why you don't have any animals on your farm.
There's no particular reason. I haven't got enough staff. If we had animals, we'd have to have more staff on the farm, and as well, the infrastructure as well. We'd have to fence the fields. We'd have to put water in. We'd have to put handling facilities in. So it's a big step to put livestock on the farm. Plus, we'd need extra help because you generally need 2 people to move livestock and handle them and safely. So it will cost a lot financially. It would cost a lot of money to bring livestock back into the farm, but it is something we want to do, and that's why I want to try and work with another local farmer and bring his livestock onto the farm. So that's the main reason. There used to be a lot of livestock on the farm, but it wasn't making any money, so they got rid of them many years before I came here, probably 30 years ago. So and they went to just growing crops, but now we're sort of coming back towards bringing some livestock back on the land as well.
Yeah, and just to explain for some people who might not have been to a working farm, lots of farmers, if they do have animals, might only have one type of animal. They might just have sheep or just have cows. They might have 2, or they might have none because they grow crops. But those farms that we read about in storybooks with a couple of cows and a couple of sheep and a couple of donkeys and a couple of ducks, they're not really common now with working farms. So farms usually specialize in something. And for Andrew, a lot of what he does is about wheat. So he's an expert in that, but he might move into animals. And Daisy from Miss Cox's class had asked, if you were to have animals, so obviously you are thinking of getting some livestock, which animal would you choose and why?
Oh, it's a good question, Daisy. I like cattle. The farm I manage, so I've been at this farm for 18 years.
Sorry, could you just explain what cattle means? Because that might be a new word for some people.
So cattle is a general term for cows. So I used to, the farm I managed before I came here 18 years ago, we had some cows on there, cows and calves, and they reared all those through. So that's what I'll be really keen to have, is go back to having some cows back on the farm again.
Brilliant. And so you don't have any animals, you do have lots of plants, but do you have any scarecrows on your farm?
We don't actually, no, we don't.
Maybe we need some children to make you some scarecrows. And Mr. Seymour has asked, do you have a favourite type of plant growing on the farm? It could be a wild plant that you're using for nature and for the hedgerows, or it could be a crop that you grow.
So we grow a lot of cover crops in between as sort of fertility building, to build fertility into the soil and give the soil a rest from growing wheat. We grow a lot what we call cover crops. And in those cover crops, I tend to put sunflowers. If we're growing them through the summer, I'll put sunflowers in there. And I don't know anybody who doesn't like to see a sunflower out in the field. The bees love it. They're just nice to see, aren't they? The way they follow track the sun. Yeah, I like having sunflowers kicking about.
That's my favourite, and I bet a lot of the children watching love to see sunflowers as well. So we're going to have a little break now while we watch a video, and then I am going to come back. I'm getting more and more tractor questions, and I promise we are going to come to the tractor questions in a minute. But what we're going to do first is we're going to watch a film of Farmer Andrew's harvest, and then we'll have a little talk about what we can see.
Hi, I'm Andrew. Welcome to the farm. You've probably noticed it's been very, very dry and hot this spring. We would prefer to have, in an ideal situation, a little bit of rain, little and often. But this year we've just had lots and lots of dry weather, which has reduced the yield of our crops dramatically. On our clay soils, when it gets very dry, you can see these cracks open up as the magnesium in the soil shrinks the soils back. we get these massive cracks open up. So my favourite time of year is the summertime. That's harvest time for us, and I get to drive great big bits of kit like this combine harvester, and that's probably one of my favourite bits of the job. We're farming about 800 hectares, which is about 2,000 football pitches. So this is our Warburtons wheat. We harvested this last week. There's about 600 tonnes in here. There's enough here to make 1 million loaves of bread.
Fantastic. So, Farmer Andrew, what did we see in that video? What were you doing?
That was a very short snapshot of us harvesting there. So I was harvesting wheat probably the first week of August, maybe the last week of July, even this year. I can't remember the exact date. So I was driving the combine just behind us here, and the wheat is just stored further up the yard.
Fantastic. So we're going to show the video again, and I just want the children to have a look out for a few things that you can see in the video. So first of all, I want you to look at what colour the fields are and why you think that is. I also would like you to have a look at what the combine harvester is doing and how the machine looks different to other things you might have seen, like cars or tractors. So we're going to watch the video one more time.
Hi, I'm Andrew. Welcome to the farm. You've probably noticed it's been very, very dry and hot this spring. We would prefer to have, in an ideal situation, a little bit of rain, little and often. But this year we've just had lots and lots of dry weather, which has reduced the yield of our crops dramatically. On our clay soils, when it gets very dry, you can see these cracks open up as the magnesium in the soil shrinks the soils back. We get these massive cracks open up. So my favourite time of year is the summertime. That's harvest time for us, and I get to drive great big bits of kit like this combine harvester, and that's probably one of my favourite bits of the job. We're farming about 800 hectares, which is about 2,000 football pitches. So this is our Warburtons wheat. We harvested this last week. There's about 600 tonnes in here. There's enough here to make 1 million loaves of bread.
Brilliant. So I'm just going to give everyone a couple of minutes just to have a chat in your classes about what you could see in the video. So what did you see the combine doing? What did it look like? How is it different than other vehicles? What colour were the fields? Why do you think it was that colour? And anything you can remember, such as how many loaves of bread could be made from all the grain in that big grain storage. And if you've got any answers, you can pop them in the chat. And don't forget to use the Q&A function. So that should be at the bottom of your screen. It will say Q&A to ask any last questions. Great. So I've popped those questions in the chat. So if you've got any answers you've been talking about as a class, please do pop them in, and then we will talk to Andrew about them. I'll just give you one more minute. We've got a great answer there. So someone has said, so Miss Jassel had said, the crops looked yellow. Could this be because the weather has been dry? So Andrew, we did see a lot of yellow fields and lots of brown fields in that video. So why is that?
So as a wheat crop, generally any crop that goes through a combine, so any sort of grain crops, um, they'll be green as they grow. And then once they've produced their ear and they produce the seeds that we want, the wheat grains in the ear, they'll start to senesce or die back, and we can't harvest them until they've died back. So as they go from green to brown, the crop is drying out, so the grains get much harder. So we don't damage them as we're harvesting them, and they'll store as well. Once they're dry, they'll store as well. If they were damp, they go moldy in the shed. So we wait until they're dry and the crop has gone sort of that golden color, and then we can harvest it.
And fantastic, thank you. So the combine looks very different than other sorts of machinery, and I can see it's behind you, isn't it, at the moment?
It's in its winter quarters. Yeah, it's all washed down and parked up, ready for next year.
Yeah, so we've had lots of questions about the combine harvester and about the different equipment. Mr. Seymour's asked, is the combine your favourite vehicle on the farm? Miss McCartney's asked, is the combine the most essential piece of equipment on the farm?
It's probably one of my favourite. It is good fun to drive, I have to say. It's a big bit of machinery. It's a very expensive piece of machinery. It's got loads of good tech on it. And yeah, I suppose it is essential because at the end of the day, we couldn't harvest the crops without it. So I guess everything's equally the drill for planting the seeds is quite important, and the crop sprayer for applying the fertilizers and stuff is quite important. So everything's important. But yeah, the combine we couldn't harvest the crops without it.
So Charlie at Shaftesbury Prime said, what is your favourite vehicle? So would you say it's the combine, or is there another one that you enjoy?
I don't know. The yellow tractor behind us is the one that I drive the most. It's a JCB fast track tractor. I drive that the most, and I really like that. It's really comfortable. I really like that.
And Miss Dickinson has said, how many tractors do you have altogether?
So you can see two of them behind us. We've got two John Deere tractors and a JCB tractor. So we've actually got three tractors. Two of them are parked behind me here. And then we've also got a loader. So it's for lifting things and loading grain lorries. Got a big bucket on the front. So we've also got a Manitou loader as well.
And are any of those electric?
They're not. No, not at the moment. The electric hasn't really hit agriculture too much just yet. So not yet. No, they're all diesel powered.
All right, so we've had a good question from Mr. Seymour, and I think the answer will probably shock all the children listening. Saying, what is the most expensive piece of machinery and how much did it cost? So can we talk a bit about tractor prices?
Yeah, so the tractor, so this green tractor here we bought new last year. That was £155,000. The combine would undoubtedly be the most expensive piece of equipment. If I was to replace that combine and bring my dealer and order one today, it'd be probably about £500,000.
Yeah, so you could buy a couple of houses.
Yeah,
the cost of a combine harvester.
absolutely.
So they're very, very expensive. We've got, so Bumblebees, Reception Class and Gunthorpe. Thank you. You've also asked which tractor is your favourite. Miss Wright has asked, where is the combine? Well, it's just behind you. And Miss Jassel has asked, why do farms need robots? Are there enough farmers? So that could be machinery and equipment, but also those robots we were talking about before.
That's a good question, actually. There is a bit of a lack of people coming into farming, and so I'm very keen to encourage young people to come and have a go and come and join us. But robots as well, I guess. People perhaps don't want to work the hours that we work, and particularly for dairy farmers, like I said, where my friend is a dairy farmer, and he's getting robots in to milk his cows. That can be quite hard. They start at sort of 4 a.m. milking cows, and they have to milk them again at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Whereas a robot will just sit there and milk them any time of day when the cows want. And from a welfare point of view, actually, robots milking cows can be quite a nice win, because the cow will only go and get milked when it wants to be milked, sort of thing. So they can milk any time of the day rather than when the farmer wants to milk them. So But there is, there's robots working in the fields as well on high value sort of vegetable crops. They're planting the crops and then they're turning around and they're weeding them. So in organic vegetables, rather than trying to get loads of people out in the field to hand weed the crops, they can use robots who'll just go up and down slowly, picking out the weeds and scuffling the weeds out of the crop. And that makes that more financially attractive to grow those crops.
I bet the children didn't realise there were robots working on farms. So,
Uh,
and Mr. Barnett has asked, what's your cheapest piece of machinery?
the cheapest, that's a good question.
Probably
In
not
terms
very cheap.
Not very cheap. We've got some bits of. Well, I'm just trying to think. You've really thrown me with that question now. I mean, the attachments to go on the front of the forklift, which are over next to the combine. I don't think you can quite see them in the picture, but they don't cost that much money. But you don't, And then I guess we got loads of sort of hand tools. The cheapest bit of equipment that I use probably the most is the spade in the back of my pickup. So I've got a spade, and I use that a lot to go and assess the fields and assess the soil conditions. So I guess a spade's probably the cheapest thing I've got that I use quite regularly.
So using robots and high-tech machinery, but still really important to just have a
Have a look and
spade and maybe a garden fork,
have
have the
yeah,
basics.
absolutely.
Brilliant. And we've had another financial question here. Now we're talking about cost of equipment. How much money does the farm make in a year? So could you maybe talk a little bit about money coming in and out of the farm? Because obviously they're very expensive to run as well.
Very expensive. I mean, we probably turn over close to £500,000 a year. I should think to grow the crops on the farm probably costs us £500,000. Unfortunately, this year because yields are down and the prices are really down at the moment, prices are really depressed at the moment. We'll probably won't make any money. In fact, we'll probably lose a little bit of money this year from growing crops, which is that's tough to take. But we'll plant them again and keep going. So we probably won't make any profit this year at all. We'll probably make a small loss. So. And last year, we again similarly, the wheat price isn't great at the moment. And actually, if supermarkets could just put another penny a loaf on a loaf of bread, it would make a big difference and pass that back down to the farmer. But at the moment, farming's quite difficult. It's not making a lot of money at the moment.
Yeah, and you talked about how obviously the weather affects how successful the crop is. Which weather is most beneficial to farming? What's your ideal weather throughout the year?
The crop has different needs at different times of the year. Through sort of the autumn like this, we want it dry but with some rain showers, which is exactly the weather we've got today. It has been raining here today. So we want it dry enough that we can plant the seeds, but wet enough that there's some rain to get the seeds growing. We want a little bit of rain over winter just to keep things ticking over and top up the ground levels of water. And then again in the spring, you want plenty of rain to keep the crop growing, but we also want the shower. We need dry spells so we can get in the fields and put some fertilizer and stuff on. In June is when the crops are really at their full. They've got the ears out, they've got all their leaves out, they're green. We want them getting as much sunlight as possible. So we want it dry from June, July, August. We want it really dry. So the crops can finish off, they can dry out, we can harvest them, and then the cycle starts again. So sunshine and showers is always good.
And how do you cope with flooding if you have any flooding on the farm?
Yeah, last year we had an awful lot of rain. Our annual rainfall is usually about 600 millimeters a year, and we had 1,100 last year. So we did have some flooding in the field. So we've dug drains into some of the fields. So we've put drainage channels in some of the fields and pipes down in the ground, going into ditches. We have to spend a lot of time cleaning drains out. And we do what we call mole ploughing, which is where we use a machine on the back of the tractor to pull sort of slits in the ground to help drain the fields as well. So yeah, we spend a lot of time trying to move water about off the farm, mostly off the fields into the ditches and away off the farm.
Thank you. So we've got a few last questions coming in, mostly about you. So we've got, do your family help you on the farm? And that's from year 2 at Queen Vic.
Yeah, so I've got 3 boys. I've got my wife Hannah, and I've got 3 boys, Niall, George, and Leo. So Niall is 19 now, and he's actually gone off and he's working for a friend of mine now. He went to Hartbury College in Gloucestershire. After he'd finished his GCSEs, he went to college, and he's working full time on a farm over in Cambridgeshire. But he worked for me did a couple of harvests for me when he was still at school. George has just done his GCSEs this year, and he worked for me at harvest this year. He was grain carting. In the video you saw, I think you might have seen the yellow tractor, the fast track with a grain trailer that we were emptying grain into. That was probably George driving that tractor. And then Leo, my youngest boy, is 13, and yeah, he helps out on the farm. He does a few little jobs for me here and there. He helps with the bird feeding in the winter, and he's not old enough to drive tractors yet, but he'll get his chance when he's a little bit older, a couple of years older.
How old do you have to be to drive a tractor?
Usually 15, 16. I won't let my boys drive a tractor till they're 15 or 16. So yeah.
And Miss McCartney has asked, if you weren't a farmer, what else would you be?
Oh, that's a great question.
Really good question.
I don't know, to be honest. I've never really considered doing anything else. I'd definitely work outside, I think, and do something right and get out in the fresh air. But I haven't got a clue. I don't know what else I fancy doing, to be honest.
You're just a farmer through and through.
Yeah.
And Mr. Seymour said, do you travel to other farms and help them with their work? So how much do farmers kind of go to each other's farms?
We do a little bit. So again, I'm sort of big into collaboration. So we do go with our seed drill, helping other farmers. Combining, we tend to just do our own harvesting. So because everybody wants to harvest at the same time, it's very difficult to go and help others. But if very occasionally we've had a neighbour who's had a breakdown, we'll go and help them. But we do a fair bit of planting for other farmers as well. So we've got a very particular seed drill that can do loads of different funky stuff, and it's a direct drill, so it can go straight into the soil without any sort of cultivation. So we do a little bit with it for other farmers with that.
Brilliant. And Charlie, so you did introduce the farm at the beginning, but Charlie would like to know what your farm is called. So maybe he missed that at the beginning.
So we call Bromborough Estate. So but the actual farm here, where I am here, is Glebe Farm.
Glebe Farm. And do you know when Glebe Farm was built?
Oh, it's been around a long time. Glebe is an old historic term that means church. So this was probably owned by the church at one point. The family that I work for here have been in Poddington for over 100 years. So I guess the farm, and they bought and bought and bought and bought to build up the farm to what it is today. So yeah, we've been around since I think it's 1908.
Wow, so yeah, about 100, nearly 120 years.
Yeah.
And how big is your farm?
So I think it said it in the video. There were about 800 hectares, which is the equivalent of about 2,000 football pitches.
Great. And we got a really good question. I really like this one because you talked about how much you like the wildlife and on the farm. What are the coolest insects you have on the farm?
Ooh. The one we've seen a lot of lately, and I don't know if anybody else has seen this, but ladybirds. We've had a massive sort of swarms of ladybirds, which generally means that like we get little aphids that graze. They bring viruses, and they eat. They land on a wheat plant, and they'll graze on that wheat plant, and that transmits a virus called barley yellow dwarf virus (BYDV) into the plant. The natural predator, we don't use insecticides, we try not to kill any insects here, but the one thing, ladybirds will come and eat the aphids for us. And so I'm starting to see more aphids, and hence we see more ladybirds because they've got a food source. So I think ladybirds are pretty cool. They'd be one of my favorites. But actually, my absolute favorite is bees. I love seeing bees around the farm. We've got 25 beehives on the farm, and I love seeing the bees out harvesting pollen and making honey. That's great.
Fantastic. So we've got one last question. We have had a few more in the chat, but I think most of it's been covered. Just to let all the teachers know, all the questions and the answers we're going to be putting in a document, and you'll be able to access that on the online resources page. So we will make sure everything's been covered. But we've got one last question, and that is, what is the green cylinder to the side of the combine harvester? So behind you, there is a great big cylinder.
That one.
What is that? Yeah.
That is for storing fertilizer. So I get liquid fertilizer is delivered. There's two cylinders there. They hold 50,000 litres each. So I've got 100,000 litres of fertilizer in stock there, ready for next spring.
Brilliant. So thank you so much. We'll say bye at the end, but we are going to end the Q&A there. If you do have any last questions, you can pop them in the Q&A. As I said, we'll be sending out a document with the answers. But I think we need a little movement break, play a little game before we finish. So we're going to be playing a game called Made with Wheat. So your job is going to be to think of as many different things as you can that use wheat. So if we could have the next slide, please. So wheat is ground into flour and it's used in lots and lots of different food products. So I'm going to give you a few minutes now. I want you in your class, you can do it as a whole class or in groups, depending on what your teacher says, to think of as many different things that you can use wheat for. So how many different things are made from flour or from wheat? Okay, so I'm going to give you a couple of minutes. Teachers, keep a track of how many you think of, and we're going to see which class gets the most answers. So I'll give you a couple of minutes. Okay, I'm just going to give you one more minute. Teachers, could you pop in the chat how many different things your class thought of? Oh, you've got some I didn't think of there. 5S. If we could go on to the next page now, I've got some answers. It's not everything, but it is some things you might have thought of. I didn't have crumpets, so well done, 5S. Oh, well done. We've got lots of 27. Brilliant. So have a look at the pictures on the page and see if you thought of all of them. You've probably got some different ones as well. So 27, that's the Acorn School. Which class is that? They've got 27, if you could pop it in the chat, because I think you are our winners today. Well done, 6C, who got 13. Brilliant. Well, we're not sure which class it is, but a class from the Acorns Primary in Ellesmere Port got 27. So that's fantastic. So obviously lots and lots of things made from wheat. And I bet that everyone in your class has had something with wheat in it today. So you might have had a sandwich, you might have had bread, you might have had toast, bagel, you might have had a cake or a biscuit with your lunch. So lots and lots of people eat wheat every single day. Unfortunately, we are going to have to end our live event now. We've had a fantastic hour with you. Thank you so much, Andrew, for all your expertise and your help. I'm sure it's been absolutely brilliant for all the children to be able to meet a real life farmer. We asked you all when you joined if you had met a real farmer before, and lots of people hadn't. So it's really good to be given the opportunity to chat with you, Andrew, and to hear about your life on the farm.
No, it's been a pleasure. It's been some really, really good questions. It's been really enjoyable for me to get have all these great questions. So thanks very much to everyone for asking them.
Yeah, we've had some really interesting ones today. So as I said, we're going to be putting together a document with all those questions and the answers. That will be up on the online resources page, which has the videos and it has your teacher handbook on it. So you'll be able to access it there. Please complete the evaluation that we're going to send you. It really helps us get funding for further projects, for a farm visit program, which we run, and to have more resources sent to you in school. If you use your farm in a box and take some pictures, please share them on social media and tag the Country Trust. That would be really helpful. So yeah, we're all on the social media. So if you could tag us, that would be brilliant. And thank you so much for attending. We are having a second live event on the 6th of November with a different farmer, Farmer Helen. You're welcome to come to that one as well. And please carry on doing lots of brilliant learning with your farm in a box. So thank you from me and thank you from Andrew as well.
Thank you very much.
Bye.